Well, good morning, everybody. This is DIYDave on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, or early afternoon here in Oklahoma. We are going to do something that I have wanted to do for a long time. If you've got a car that's more than about 5 or 6 years old, you are almost certainly one that has these plastic headlights that have become pretty much the standard in the automotive industry. And after you've had a car about 4 or 5 years, they tend to get cloudy, scratched up, yellow, and hazy, and they don't transmit light nearly as efficiently as they did when they were new. There are all kinds of life hack remedy videos on YouTube about how you can fix these things and get them back with combinations of baking soda or toothpaste, or toothpaste with a solution of different kinds of household chemicals. And the problem is they all kind of work, but not really very well, and not for a long-term solution. Now, one of the reasons that the toothpaste video tends to, I think, get a little bit more play, and there are variations of it, is that toothpaste has the right idea for the problem that these headlights are sustaining. Toothpaste, if you look at it under a microscope, it's actually a paste that has small granular scrubbing particles suspended in it that clean the enamel on your teeth. They are actually abrasive, and they are a mild abrasive that scrapes all the yuck off of your teeth, and the same idea is what's going on with your headlights. The idea is to scrape off those scratches, to smooth off those scratches, make the surface smooth again, and let the light shine through. The reason those don't always seem to work long term is that the water that you use to wash off the headlights after you've done the toothpaste tends to give you a false notion of success. The water fills in the remaining cracks really well, and it makes the glass or the plastic look really clear. But after a few minutes and it's dried off, you find out that you're not that far ahead of where you were, because the enamel, the surface, the surfactants, the abrasives in the toothpaste really aren't enough to get after this plastic. So, how do we approach the solution to this problem? What I did was, there's easily my favorite YouTube automotive repair channel is run by a guy named OFPTHE, and I hope I'm saying that name right. He runs the South Main Auto channel. I'll put a link up to that channel because I think he does a super job. Now, he is truly a mechanic. He runs a shop in Avoca, New York. He does everything, and he is one of the, I think he is one of, if not the best mechanics on YouTube. Knows a little bit about everything. And what he did a headlight restoration video using a professional grade kit. And in that video, he mentions that there was a DIY version that had basically the same components. So I followed that link, and that's what I picked up. This is a kit by 3M. This is the 3M Headlight Restoration System. It consists of 4 grades of sandpaper, or sanding discs. I believe they go from grit from 500 to 800 to 1,000 to 3,000, but we'll check that as we do this project. And the only thing you really need, in addition to the polish that comes with the kit, is a water bottle like this that you can pick up at any Walmart hardware store for $1 or $2. Get it with a nice sprayer. And then some microfiber wipes to wipe down the dust that collects on the headlight as you're doing it. The great thing about this, the only other tool that you need is a simple handheld battery-powered drill. And this is not any fancy drill. This is just your basic DeWalt, Home Depot, Lowe's special cordless drill that can run about 800 to 1,000 RPM, and that's just about any drill. This kit provides you with the pad and then the sticky hook and loop sanding discs that you attach to it, and a package of polish that you use on the higher grade papers. So. This is something I've been really looking forward to doing, because this is not particular to Toyota, Honda, GM. This is plastic headlights in general. And if you have a little hand drill, a little bit of time, and can come up with a water bottle, you should be able to do this repair. This is one of the neatest DIY things I think I've come across, because it truly is something anybody can do. So let's go ahead and get started and see how it turns out. Now, I don't have a scientific way of testing the amount of light put out by the headlights. I don't have a light meter, because that would be the way to quantify it. So the best thing I can do is to turn on the headlights and throw them up against a surface. Unfortunately, the only real surface I've got is the garage door, which is white, so it's going to reflect a lot of light. And it may be really tough to see in the video, the way the camera picks it up. You can see how much light is reflected by these headlights. And these are the condition of the headlights. And again, sometimes the camera is not real good at picking up the subtleties. It does a little too good a job of improving the image. These are very hazy. These are 12 years old, original headlights, and that's what we're going to try to tackle. Come over here and we'll look at the other one, and you can actually see, if the camera picks that up, you can actually see some of the streaking and scratching that's occurred in these headlights over the years that we've had them. And that's what we're going to try to tackle today. What we'll do once we're finished with this project is we'll do the same thing. We'll line up the car against the house here in front of the house by about 2 or 3 feet, and we'll compare to see if we can get a little bit brighter indication of light from the cleaned headlights. I'm also going to incorporate some still pictures into the video, so you can get a look of get a fair idea of what these things looked like before we started, and compare that with what happens after we finished. So we'll go ahead and we'll proceed with the cleanup. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to be out of frame in most of this. I've got the camera focused on the headlights, so because that's the most important thing, you don't need to see my head to do this. The first thing I'm going to do is, since the sanding discs are about this big, and as I'm sanding down here, I don't want to risk scuffing the bumper. The bumper's still in pretty good shape. Up here you can't necessarily see it as plainly. This headlight curves rather severely, so I'm going to have a lot better control as they go across the top. And I'm not going to be nearly as worried about being precise along the top, because I don't really care about light that comes this direction. I'm more concerned about light going out this direction. So in that vein, what I'm going to do is I just got some just some simple tack strip tape, and I'm just going to tape off along the edge here, just to protect the paint on the plastic bumper. Unfortunately. There, that'll protect that bottom half. So now, we will break out the instructions on the headlight restoration video. .3M headlight restoration. By the way, I want to make sure everyone understands, I don't get any kind of promotion or incentive. I mean, I'm not that big a channel. I don't have people knocking me down to give me free stuff to promote it on my channel. This is all out of my own pocket. You're seeing it as I use it. That's that's just the way it is. So we have the there's a little solution and an instruction packet. Here we have 2 packets of rubbing compound. We have the sanding mount, little hook and loop pad, and then we have the actual discs themselves. We have an 800 grit, and then we have a 500 grit, just as I expected. And then we have much finer grain polishing disc that we will use in the last stages. So we will now consult the instructions. Okay, good point. Very first thing If when you're getting ready to do this, if you notice that there is moisture or water on the inside of your headlight, forget it. This isn't going to solve the problem, and you're going to end up having to replace the headlight. This isn't going to fix that kind of a problem. If you've got a leak or a crack in the plastic, this is a non-starter. Won't do you any good. It says here, first thing is to clean the lens with soap and water, and to mask off the area around the headlight. Okay, so I just happened to take just a little small cleaning bucket. I had some generic no-name car wash soap in the garage, and just a sponge. Mixed up a very small amount, don't need that much. So we're going to give the headlights a nice wash. Now just rinse that down. Take our little water bottle and give that guy a rinse down. Now I don't know if the video can show it, but even after we clean it, what you may not be able to see, there are just all kinds of very small surface scratches and discolorations on the surface of the plastic. Again, the camera is a little bit too forgiving in that it doesn't show this kind of damage very well. Now the next step is we're going to go ahead and just take our drill and put in the mounting pad. Just slide that in there. Ah, wrong direction. Okay. Nice and tight. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this down on the lower speed setting. So that's good. Attach and center the P500 gold disc to the pad holder. Okay, the P500 disc. These are the P500s. This is the first wave. This is a dry sanding disc, I believe. And if you can see that in the film, but that you do see the P500 emblem on there, and it will hook to the pad. A little hook and loop fastener pad. We'll put that right there. Looks good to me. Make sure you can see that it's fastened on there. It says here in the instructions that we should go ahead and start with a medium pressure going back and forth across until we see a uniform white dust across the surface of the lens. So we'll go ahead and start. All right, now for my money, that is a uniform milky shade that is now on the lens. And what you may or may not be able to tell is that we have already shaved off a very fine powder of material from the top of the lens, and it's collecting around this area that we taped off. There's a little area right here that I think I'm going to hit one more time because it doesn't look like it hit very well, so we're going to hit that. Now, we consult instructions. Step 2, or excuse me, we're on step 6. Wipe off the lens and inspect to ensure all the yellowing and defects have been completely removed. If yellowing, defects, or portions of the surface coating still exist, continue sanding with the gold discs until they are completely removed. Now, one thing I'll point out, they say the gold discs, I'm not exactly sure I would call that a gold disc, but it was definitely the right grit. Check the number. Don't go by the color, because on any of these mass-produced kits like this, they may have instructions that'll tell you to use this color or that color, but the actual contents of a product may vary greatly in actual production. And I think it's more important, if they specify a grit, make sure you use the right grit of paper, and that's what we're doing here. So it says to go ahead and wipe down the grit. So that's why I'm going to use these microfiber, a package of microfiber cloths. This is a package I picked up at AutoZone for $5. By the way, the kit that I bought, I got off of Amazon for $15. I have seen the exact same kit at some local AutoZones for, I think, about $25. So you pay about a $10 premium for getting it locally. Got that to a uniform shade of milky powdery glaze. I think we've got the worst of the damage off. Okay, the next step, it says remove the gold disc and now attach the P800 disc. So now we're going to take our drill, going to peel off the 500 grit disc. Go back to our pad, our kit, and now we're going to replace it with the 800 grit disc. Now again, it's a little tough to see, but that is the 800 grit disc. We're not going by color, we're going to go by the actual grit that's on the pad, and we're going to put that on our sanding disc. And it says to repeat the process that you just did using the same medium speed and medium pressure on top of what you've already scanned. Now it says wipe the lens again. Notice that the scratches should now be finer. If any coarse scratches are visible, continue with the 800. Extra sanding in this step will make the next step easier and improve the final clarity of the lens. All right. So we're going to take another one of our microfiber wipes. And so if you see any remaining scratches from the previous step, go ahead and sand them a little bit more. And it actually suggests that if you sand a little bit extra in this step, it will make the rest of the process a little simpler. So there are a couple of spots here that I think I'm going to hit one more time just to make sure. All right. I think that's got it for this pass. The 800 grit is done. I don't think we need to do any more. Again, the idea is to achieve this uniform, milky, frosty haze. That's the best indication that you've done the job they want you to do. We're going to replace the 800 grit disc with a 3000 grit disc. And now we're going to take our water bottle and squirt down the whole lens first and use that as a wet sandpaper. So here we now have the 3000 grit paper, the 3000 grit disc. We're done with the 800 grit disc. And we will now put that on the lock. Now, I think I mentioned at the outset that I thought there was a 1000 grit intermediate disc. That was incorrect. This has gone from 500 dry to 800 dry to 3000, but 3000 will be wet. So now we will take our handy dandy spray bottle and we will douse the headlight with water. It says to sand down the headlight with the surface moistened. If it gets dry while you're sanding it, dampen it down again. I think it's getting a little dry, so we're going to squirt it down again. Right. I think that accomplishes what their objectives are. Okay, this says continue with 4 to 6 passes over the lens after you start seeing this residual slurry on the lens surface. So we should go ahead and make another couple of passes, I think, based on their instructions. So once you start seeing this slurry, which we're definitely seeing, that means I think that we're doing this the right way. It says to go ahead and keep going. One thing that I'm noticing that you can keep in mind if you're not used to doing this, and can't say I do this obviously very much, even on the speed that gets you about 1200 RPM, this holding that trigger in can be a little fatiguing, and especially if you want to hold it and control it so it doesn't go hog wild and scratch other parts of the hood. And I think I've done a pretty good job of protecting the part that I didn't take. And the other thing that you can't really tell from the video is the curvature of the lens. I mentioned this before, but it's very deceptive. As you're taking a drill like this and you're going over that curve, the drill's going to want to crawl and skip and move around on you. So you're going to have to be very deliberate in how you hold your drill and control it over the surface. And also their instructions, I think, are very well taken to use medium pressure and go on the longest strokes you can back and forth. That's what I tried to do along here. This lens curves sharply back this way, so I kind of did it in sections. I went this way in this section and then tried to do this section and then got this top layer going across like this. So I think the 3000 grit is completed, and now it says we've done the 4 to 6 additional passes after this white slurry has formed. Wipe the lens, and again I'm going to use a fresh towel. I've got plenty. And you should immediately notice that the lenses are shinier, and they already are. I can tell without question we are already much better off than we were. And now we're going to remove the foam disc, attach the orange foam disc, that is the lone remaining disc in the kit. And now we're going to use our rubbing compound. We are done with the 3000 grit for now. And now we're going to put the foam pad on here, like unto so. It is in fact an orange pad. And then the instructions say to apply a dime size dollop of rubbing compound. A dime size amount. I need to go cut, oh, here we go, there's a dime size amount. We're going to eyeball this since I don't have the official Bureau of Standards reference for what constitutes a dime size amount. In my book, that's about a dime size. What it says here is with this amount of rubbing compound on your pad, smear it onto the surface of your headlight. Smear, 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 smear. Following our instructions. Smear, smear, smear. I'm afraid we're getting a little dry. So I'm going to put just a tiny bit more compound on here. I'm going to smear it around a little bit. There. All right. Now, just to take another lens, another cleaner, excuse me, and wipe this down. Oh, wow. I don't know if the camera's going to do it justice, but this looks fantastic. I must say, it looks fantastic. Some observations that I'm making is that right here in the center of the lens, there are still a few scratches that I probably could have been more aggressive with. I'm always cautious about doing something like this with a sanding pad for fear I'll put too much power behind it, but I think I could have been a little bit more aggressive there. Maybe not a lot, but I think I could have been a little bit more forceful. But what I'm going to do is, here's a picture of this. I'll take some still pictures and we can put these side by side so you can see the clarity, the difference in clarity here. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do is have my wife come in here. This is really her van. She drives it most of the time. I want to see what she thinks about the difference in the clarity of the lens. Be right back.
That looks really nice.
You like?
I do. I like it a lot.
Look at that compared to the other one.
I know. That's what I'm looking at. It looks much clearer.
And I could have been a lot more aggressive on that side, but I wanted to get your reaction. This is your van. And your
Oh, that
reaction,
looks a lot clearer.
your reactions are on camera. Just thought you'd know. You're being recorded, if not audibly, if not visibly. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to back up here. I don't know if the video can show the difference because we're in a shadow here. The left side versus the right side. We just finished the right side and we are going to get ready to do the left side. The difference in clarity is phenomenal. I mean, it's unmistakable. And
Definitely.
the missus just gave me her DIY seal of approval. She said it looks great, and we'll do a light comparison test once we're all done. And now what I want to do is I want to read the instructions on the Meguiar's clear coat compound to protect that glass, and we'll call this done. Now what I'm going to do is, before we're finished, I'm going to go ahead and do the left side. I'll probably be a little more aggressive. I'm more comfortable with it, having done it once now. I'm very comfortable being a little bit more aggressive, maybe have a little bit higher speed on the left side and get some of those a little bit more of those finer scratches out. But this has been a success, I think. Okay. In the interim, while I was off camera repositioning the camera, my son came out and he stepped out of the house and was just really stunned. He noticed the difference between the two front headlights immediately. The clarity is absolutely unmistakable. And we're going to get this a wipe off. And now, again, now this is the departure point that I went from the professional video that I saw. He used a compound, a clear coat compound I'm not privy to. It's something that he's used. It's available only direct order from a particular website from the manufacturer. It's not a mainstream product. And it was a little more expensive than the Meguiar's. This Meguiar's bottle was about $8 at Walmart, and I thought this would be a reasonable compromise. So we'll take a look at the instructions here. Let's see. Apply 1 medium wet coat of Keep Clear headlight coating to the entire headlight surface, overlapping the previous pass by 50%. Let the first coat dry 3 to 5 minutes and follow with a second medium wet coat to completely seal the headlight lens. The coating will be dry to the touch in 3 to 5 minutes and fully cured in 24 hours. Well, you can't get much simpler than that. Then I think what I'm going to do in that vein, I don't want this sealer to go on the paint at all, because I don't know how it would react with that paint. So I'm going to go ahead and tape off the top. So we're going to, per the instructions, we're going to give this a good shake. So we're going to go 1 medium wet coat. Okay, and it said to let that dry 3 to 5 minutes and then do it again. It's been about 5 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and give this another coat, a last coat here. There. And that, folks, is going to be done. Let that sit 3 to 5 minutes and pull the tape off and call that headlight finished. Now, it may just not be possible to tell in the video because of the way the camera balances for light, but the difference in the amount of light these headlights are putting out is unmistakable. I wish I had a light meter to really more accurately describe to you or depict to you how much better these lights are now. Here, let me take the camera off the tripod and we'll show you, whoops, take the camera off the tripod and we'll show you how much clearer these lights are now. I'm going to take these moving across the front of the car and then I'll take some still pictures because I think they may come out a little bit better. But there's simply no mistaking the improvement in the quality of the lens. Is this a perfect like new restoration? No, it's not perfect, but I don't think that's a reasonable expectation. For example, I mentioned that after I did this one and did the polish on it, I noticed there were still some surface scratches on this lens, and that was why I opted to be a little bit more aggressive on the other side, and I don't have those scratches. But this is so small in comparison to where it was, and now thinking about where it is now, that I'm not too worried about a little bit of defect like that. This headlight looks fantastic. I mean, the car, you've almost taken years off the apparent life of the vehicle merely for the sake of doing this. Here's a picture from the side, and what I'm going to do is I'll also add some still pictures to compare before and after on this process. And again, look at the light that we're reflecting off of the garage door. This is on low beam, and I'll put a before and after of that so you can see that. So you can see the difference. Well, folks, that's going to be about it. What did we learn? What's the summary from this? I think this has been a complete and total success without qualification. Sometimes the things that you see on some of the mechanic videos, they make it look a little too easy, and it turns out to be a lot more complicated than it seems. But I think this is one where the direction that we got from the South Main Auto video was absolutely 100% spot on. The DIY version of his professional kit was absolutely the right choice. The household drill was perfectly adequate to use the varying grits of sandpaper. The instructions were clear as a bell. They gave you ample amounts of the polishing compound, in fact more than enough to do these headlights, and these are pretty big lenses on this van. I have more than enough to do this project again on a different car. Unfortunately, the other cars don't need it right now. This is the oldest car that we have in the family right now. My advice to you, if you've got Hazy plastic headlights, and you're willing to invest about $30 in cloths, a little bit of the 3M restoration kit, and have a drill, and you're willing to invest, it's taken me about an hour or so, give or take a little longer, to set up the video. This is entirely worth it, 100% worth your time, and I would be surprised if you're not as amazed at the difference as I am, having done it on my van. This has been a super result. My family's noticed the difference, and I think it's well worth an hour of your time on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Take advantage of the gorgeous weather, and as we get ever closer to springtime, this has been a success. Our headlights are restored, and again, I'll give a shout out to Eric O at South Main Auto. I think he is a great YouTube video channel. He's a great teacher, even though he would never admit it. He is inspiration for a lot of the stuff that I've been able to do as a DIYer. If you like the DIY videos that we're doing, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. I am living proof, as Erico would say, that if he can do it, I can do it, because I just did it. Thanks very much for watching. We hope you have a blessed afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. This video was Boomer approved.